what I'm showing you here are two Visual Studio instances. And by the way, we challenged our team to come up with a couple of demos in sort of a hackathon mode. So these are just conceptual demos, okay? And in this case, what we're doing, and we've done it on two different languages, so that just to show you, the flexibility of the general approach. One is on C# code, the other one is on Power Builder code. On the C# code, we took an approach and we said, okay, what about if we try to do it fully automated? And as an example, let's translate, and if you can see it here on the right, this is just a sample program where you have comments written in Spanish, several comments written in Spanish, and then let's focus on class names. Why class names? Again, just as an example, as Tom explained, we can really identify all of the different language constructs and then translate those. But for this demo, we're just focusing on class names, and class names is an interesting one because, for instance, here is in a class declaration, and for instance, here you have it. You're actually creating a variable of type empleado, which means employee. So that, and again, this is done on the abstract syntax tree. It's not just a regular expression, because with a regular expression you would probably create a huge mess in the target code, and we'll see that also on the Power Builder just in a second. So here I have the program that is actually doing the translation, and in this case it is fully automated. And as Tom said, we're using just the standard API from Microsoft to translate. And in this case, it's all, we're just saying, translate to English, from Spanish to English. That's what we're saying. And here, all I'm saying is the program that I have here is this one. So I'm just sending as a parameter to this utility the source file and the language and the source language, natural language, right? And so I can just run this, and it's gonna run it. It's gonna perform the translation in just a second. It takes a few seconds to load and everything, and something. So this is similar to the problem of localizing an application, which normally means that you want to change the UI. In this case, you don't really want to change the UI because, the user of the application is still going to talk the same language. What you're trying to change are the other elements that are part of the source code but are not really part of the UI. Okay, so here, the program finished and it ran. So now if I switch to this version of Visual Studio, it's going to tell me that the file has been changed, behind the curtain. And so I just reload everything, and now the same file, really all the comments have gone and they have been translated, but also, the class name, employee here and employee here, contextually and correctly, has been changed. Okay? Again, this is a conceptual demo, and this probably will not work fully automated because, for the comments, maybe yes, because the comments are essentially prose, and you can send that prose to a translation engine, and that pretty much works. But when you're thinking about variable names, then I have, for instance, this other example, and this again is a completely different interface, where essentially what I have here is the source file. And again, this is the same source file without any changes, but this is where the changes are going to be applied. And what we did is that in this case, we extracted a lot of the constants, like for instance for localization, but even though this is a different problem. And then we also extracted the variables that had an underscore, just because, and this, by the way, is part of master.saf. This is a real file from master.saf, where you can see that variables tend to have, underscores. But again, this is just an initial pass. And for instance, we've separated, and we have GS and we have título. So título is something that, should be translated to title. Okay, and here, I have the same, right now is exactly the same file, so I have título, but then, if I reload it, applying this change, now here I have the title here, okay? So it's again, this is not a total change. So for instance, if I have establishment here, which is this one, I think, then let's say I say company, and then I reload the target. So I changed it here, right?
Yeah, so you're treating parts of variables as translatable words.
As translatable. But again, this is just an approach. In general, the way in which we envision this is to build an interface where you can select exactly which statements or which elements of the language you want to translate, and then you would see the complete list. You would probably be aided by a dictionary, right? So we can always send those names to a dictionary, but then somebody that actually understands the application and understands both languages can go in and accept or not accept the translations and so on. And also,
so
this is, yes?
Yeah, you're using the underscore as a delimiter. Is there a way to do it? So I think an older style of delimiting variable names and class names, maybe it's not older, maybe people are still doing it, is to use capitals as separators, right?
Sure. So for instance, this one. But I mean, again, we are just, in this example, we're just getting some of the elements. But yes, I mean, this could be, for instance, another example where you know, this is the name of a variable, right? And you could make, text analysis and say, yes, I mean, the delimiter is actually the capital letter. And so I have mascar, and I have mascara, and I have data, right? And then those could be sent to the dictionary. Again, but maybe the conceptual part is the fact that we can, by analyzing the structure of the program, we can decide which elements we want to extract. Then we can have an interface where we can aid, a translator, to perform the translation, and whatever can be done automatically can be done automatically, like the comments, which is probably the most of the work. And for the other one, it is really a human, because I mean, in this case, these are two complete words, but I mean, in this case, for instance, these are not complete words, right? So
yeah,
I mean,
it's like building a localization or a resource file for localization.
Correct, and that's another way, right? We could extract all of these things, and then we could treat them as dictionary words, and then we do the translation once, and then we can apply it to all the files. But something that is super important is that these are, again, this is not a regular expression, because a regular expression potentially will destroy the program. I mean, if I'm changing a variable name, I have to make sure that I change that variable name, the declarations, and all the uses of that variable in the right context, right? Not for everything else. So that is the type of things that we can ensure by applying this type of techniques instead of just trying to treat the program as a text file. I mean, the program is not really a text file. It is something that has a lot of semantics inside that. So that is more or less the conceptual demo. Again, we did it for two languages, in this case for C# and for Power Builder. This is a very, very rough interface, but it explains how a human can interact with something like this. And then in the other case, you saw how automation can help. And then, of course, we would have to spec this appropriately and build it. But conceptually, it is totally doable.